The title of my presentation this morning is called Time. And I thank God for that beautiful section in the Bible in Ecclesiastes chapter 3. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, there are many aspects of there, and some of them I'd like to look at this morning. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, it begins with verse 1 that says, "To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven." Did you know that it was a heaven-designed plan that you be born when you were born? That you are here right now? Nothing happens by accident. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which was planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing, also a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. There's a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. There is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. And looking at the link of God's timing, especially in our own lives, I think we will all be amazed at the hand of God. It doesn't take away choice, but the time factor is such an essential one, because when we look at time, when we look at what's happening at different times in our life, we see God's hand. In that last verse, in verse 8, it says there's a time of war and there's a time of peace. Did you know that the first war that ever happened in heaven?
Yes.
And yet we think of war on the planet of the earth. There's nothing like heaven. There's nothing like heaven at all. But there was war in heaven, and in Revelation chapter 12, verse 7, it tells us a little bit about that war. And there was war in heaven. And Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. And the dragon fought with his angels and prevailed not.
Amen.
Do you know the world brings other wars to light, especially in reading and writing? I think there's something called Star Wars. But you know, the Bible talks about the true wars. Yeah. And the Bible actually is a far more exciting book than any other book on the planet.
Amen.
So there was war in heaven. This is the true Star